Hey, what's up guys, Pattycakes here. So with Trials likely coming back pretty soon, I wanted to make a video about a few gear setups that I thought could be pretty interesting in the new sandbox. For these picks, I tried to go outside of the normal meta stuff that you're likely to see. I don't think it will surprise anyone to come across things like stompy shotgun hunters, one-eyed masked titans, and contraverse hold warlocks, so I won't be covering those setups in this particular video. So let's dig in with some of the potential sleeper Trials builds. Number 1 is on the Titan with the Armamentarium and double suppressor grenades. Suppressor grenades are arguably the best grenade in the game right now. Destiny at its core is very heavy on movement and ability usage, and that's what tends to separate top players from the rest of the pack and widen the skill gap in the game. Suppressor grenades take those abilities away from players for just a few seconds, allowing your team to make some big pushes and get an advantage. With the Armamentarium exotic and stacking a bunch of discipline stats, you can get 2 grenades that recharge at a scary fast rate. I can see this being a very popular setup in Trials for a shutdown build. Number 2 is pairing KHEPRI'S with a sniper using either middle or bottom tree Void Hunter. This one is particularly very scary to me, especially with how good top players are at sniping these days. In elimination type game modes, information is king. If you study high level competitive shooters like CSGO and Rainbow Six Siege, every little bit of information can either make or break a round. And Trials and Destiny is no different. At its best, KHEPRI'S gives you free wall hacks to line up a snipe, or at the very least, see where an enemy team is moving. And pairing this exotic with the middle tree Spectral Hunter means you can extend that wall hack timer by landing a crouched headshot with a sniper rifle. I started coming across this a few times in the recent Crimson Days event, and it was pretty frustrating to play against. I think another good class option here is to run bottom tree Hunter, since you can get your smoke bombs back even faster by landing damage with your grenades. Like we said earlier, since information is king in these elimination type game modes, we can also exploit that in a different way, which brings us to number 3. GEMINI Jesters with an aggressive shotgun. While using GEMINI Jesters and dodging next to enemies, you temporarily make a small flashbang effect that can take away the radar for just a brief moment. On top of being incredibly annoying to play against, this moment of confusion offers a short window where your team can aggressively push in and get a kill or two, opening up an odd man situation. I can see these being very effective on teams with a high level of coordination. Warlocks also have a compelling way to abuse information in order to get an advantage, which brings us to number 4. Sanguine Alchemy, Empowering Rifts, and a high impact sniper. While standing in a rift, the Sanguine Alchemy exotic provides wall hacks for you against any enemies that are within 30 meters, and also gives you an improved radar while you're standing in the rift. Pairing this exotic with an Empowering Rift and a 72 RPM sniper means you can body shot opponents up to 4 resilience and almost 5 resilience. And while you're in your Well of Radiance, you deal 197 damage, which kills at 8 resilience and almost 9. I honestly think this may become one of the most annoying builds to come across in Trials. We'll see how it plays out when that day comes. Moving on to number 5, we have the Last Word with a sniper, and pairing that with either Lucky Pants, Dragon Shadow, or OPHIDIAN aspect. This setup is probably the most common out of the 9 different builds that we're talking about today, but I thought it was worth mentioning quickly. The Last Word is arguably the best primary weapon in the game right now for close to medium range. It kills with just 3 headshots at 0.53 seconds or 4 body shots at 0.8 seconds, which is actually the same speed as landing 3 headshots with a 150 RPM hand cannon like the Spare Rations. The only real drawback that the Last Word faces is its slow handling speed. Switching from a sniper rifle to the Last Word feels incredibly clunky, but there are a few workarounds. You can use an exotic armor piece like the Lucky Pants or Dragon Shadow for a hunter, or the OPHIDIAN aspect for a warlock, to drastically decrease the switching time between weapons and pull out that Last Word faster. I made a video about a month ago comparing how these different exotic armor pieces stack with Dexterity mods, and I'll link it on screen here as well as in the description. For more advanced players, there's also a mechanic often referred to as the Quickdraw glitch, which allows you to insta-swap between weapons without wearing any special armor. My friend CastleIsLive did a great video explaining how to do this with various different methods, and I'll link to his video in the description as well. Number 6 is Code of the Missile with SYNTHOCEPS. This one actually gives me nightmare flashbacks to Season 3 competitive, when Defender Titans would skate across the map and get the SYNTHOCEPS perk activated by being surrounded by enemies, and then start one-punching all of us to death with an overshield before we could do anything about it, because that's back when special ammo shotguns didn't exist to counter that type of playstyle. With Code of the Missile, there's a slightly different way to abuse this mechanic now. By jumping high up into the air and using your melee ability to fly into a pack of enemies, you can get the SYNTHOCEPS perk to proc just before hitting the ground, which results in killing all the enemies within range. Smarter teams will easily counter this by not bunching up too much, but I could see this loadout being pretty effective at the lower ranks. Also, SYNTHOCEPS by themselves are a very powerful exotic with that extra melee lunge range. Build number 7 is on the Warlock with Arc Web Nades and the Crown of Tempest. I have to give my friend Orpheus credit for showing me this build. As you probably know, the top tree Stormcaller has a perk called Arc Web, which chains lightning between enemies when you get hits with your arc grenade. This perk also returns grenade energy, so as long as you're getting hits, you're going to get your grenades back really fast. To take this effect to the next level, you can also pair it with Crown of TEMPEST, which gives additional ability recharge when you get kills with your arc abilities. So pairing this with 2x enhanced Ashes to Assets mod and a high intellect set, your arc web grenades are going to earn you some supers incredibly fast. My friend Orpheus is working on a full video guide for this build, so I'm going to link his channel in the description in case you're interested in checking out his build. Number 8 is another play on the info gathering theory, and that is using the FOETRACER exotic helmet and pairing that with THORN. In my mind, THORN is an absolute top pick for a hand cannon right now. With its improved recoil animation from the Shadowkeep patch, it feels incredibly good to use, and the burn damage over time helps mitigate some of that ranged damage nerf that hand cannons got hit with. So how do we make the THORN even scarier? FOETRACER works by marking targets that you aim at to give you free wall hacks when people are behind walls, and it also buffs damage against low health enemies. If you've ever played an MMO game, this kind of works like a bonus execute damage. The thing is, the bonus damage isn't usually very helpful in PvP, since you have to get the target pretty low before the bonus damage kicks in. And at that point, most of the time one bullet will just do the trick anyway. However, Thorn's damage over time buff does get affected by FOETRACER, which can kick in when an enemy is at low health. This actually allows you to 2-tap Guardians with the Thorn perk active at 6 resilience instead of the normal 5 resilience without the FOETRACER. It's not a big damage difference overall, but in elimination game modes, every kill can swing the momentum in your favor, and those extra points of damage might just win you a few rounds. Either way, I think the wall hacks from FOETRACER is the real selling point here. And finally, we have build number 9, which is the Phoenix Cradle and SUNSPOTS. Here's one more build for you Titan mains. This is actually one that I learned from CammyCakes a while back, but I haven't seen that many people using it, and I thought it could be pretty interesting in Trials. I'll put a link in the description to his full explanation video. In case you're not too familiar with Bottom Tree Sunbreaker, there's an interesting synergy that happens around the perk Sun Warrior. When you damage an enemy with any source of incendiary damage, and then you kill them, and by that you can think of incendiary grenades, melees, Polaris Lance, and Prometheus Lens, they create a sunspot. While standing in that sunspot, your grenade and melee both recharge much faster, and your super also lasts longer, and on top of that, it buffs your damage. The exotic Phoenix Cradle causes this buff to last twice as long, and teammates who pass through your sunspot also get the benefits of the bonus damage and the faster recharge rates. There's a bunch of really neat synergies here you can do with the extra damage, like your ability to one-shot enemies who walk through your mountaintop sticky grenades. I think in a coordinated group, this build could be really interesting, and I'm very curious to watch any teams that can take full advantage of it. If you haven't watched Cammy's video about it yet, I highly recommend giving it a watch. And again, there's a link in the description to check it out. So that wraps up the list for now. Let me know what you think of these builds in the comments. Also, let me know if there's anything interesting that I missed. If you found this video helpful, please be sure to leave a rating and also hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one. If Trials does end up coming back next season, I'm planning to stream a lot of sessions where I help viewers out, so be sure to follow me on Twitch. You can catch me over at twitch.tv/pattycakespc. And finally, we have a great community Discord with people who play on all different platforms. It could be a really cool way for you to find a fire team when Trials comes back. There's a link to join up in the description. That's all for now. Catch you guys next time.